Hey, I am a couple of minutes late. I'm really sorry. I have just been filming with some students from a university in London. So they came all the way up from London to Birmingham to film me. They are doing a project, they're economics students, and they are doing a project about single use plastic in supermarkets. So they wanted my opinion on how easy it is to shop plastic free, what things that supermarkets should be doing, what government should be doing, businesses who sell their products to supermarkets, all of this sort of stuff. So I was discussing with them about the zero waste changes that I've made and what I've learned and all of that sort of stuff. So the two of them, they were due to come a couple of hours ago, but they ended up going to the wrong high street in Birmingham. So we live on the high street in King's Heath, and they went to Harborne. So the poor things were like, "Oh, we're so sorry, we're going to be really late." And I was like, no problem, just come here when you can. But then that really meant that I was pushing it a bit tight to come on this live. But I am here now, so yeah, I have made it just on time. So I am on a computer tonight rather than a phone. I usually film these lives on my boyfriend's phone, who I know is watching right now. Hello. He's gone on holiday, and my phone didn't have the app for Facebook, and I was like, I'm going to be late if I wait for this to download. So I'm on a computer, old school. So tonight's live is continuing on from last week's live. And the theme of the 2 weeks are about things that matter in terms of zero waste living that aren't just reducing single-use plastic. And the big reason why I want to talk about this is because when I started my zero waste journey, I thought success in zero waste living meant no single-use plastic in your bin. But that isn't something that's accessible or achievable to everyone. And there are many reasons why they can't completely live without single-use plastic. It might be, hi Filippo, it might be that they have dependents, it might be that they have a disability, it might be that for whatever reason they are going through a time in their life where they need the convenience that comes along with having single-use plastics. So these 10 things that I am talking about on these lives are the other things that matter either just as much or more than living without single-use plastics. So last week, I guess I kind of grouped them that last week's topics, the 5 that I covered last week, were very much sort of individual actions that you could change yourself. So long as you have like the access in terms of financial resources and you're able to make decisions, like you don't have dependents or whatever, where you need to consider their thoughts and feelings. So those 5 last week were things like eating more plants, flying less, just consuming less as a whole, so like not buying fashion and furniture, all of that sort of stuff, at the rate that we're encouraged to, that we're marketed to, on social media, on slides and buses, billboards, all of that sort of stuff. And then this week, the theme of the 5 for this week are actually things that are a little bit more to do with community, a little bit more to do with holding yourself accountable and holding other people accountable, who are in your circles, and also holding businesses, corporations accountable, so that it's not these lonely people feeling like they need to make a difference in terms of zero waste living. It's actually a collective thing where we're all saying we're trying our hardest to live zero waste, and these sorts of things will make it easier for us to lower our waste even more. So I'm going to go through the 5 now, and if you want to catch up with the other 5 from last week, all you'll need to do is go on the Facebook feed for this page and just scroll down to last week's one. So the number 1 is pester power, and what I mean by pester power is just consumers telling businesses when they are doing either a really great job or a really bad job for the planet. So some examples have been, I mean, I'm going to use this one as an example anyway, and then it kind of leads into greenwashing as well, which is a nice topic that I'm going to cover in one of these lives soon. But I don't know whether you remember, maybe sort of 6 months to a year ago, my timekeeping isn't ideal, but McDonald's announced that they were moving from plastic straws to paper straws. And the reason why they did that was because of customers complaining, of customers being more aware of the fact that straws can get stuck in the noses of marine life, of turtles, and just being really upset at this fact and saying to McDonald's, change something about it. And the thing with big corporations like this, the only thing that really matters to them is profit. And if their profit is going to be affected by the thoughts of their consumers, their customers, people like me and you, maybe you shop there, maybe you don't, but just imagine that you do. If our buying is going to change, if the way that we're going to consume their products is going to change, then they will change their product to meet your needs. So McDonald's changed their straws based on the complaints that people were giving them. Now, obviously it was very short-sighted in terms of McDonald's, because they still had their cup with plastic lining inside it and they still had a plastic lid on the top. So it was gimmicky, it was greenwashing, they were making a change based on not a lot. And also we found out later that those paper straws weren't even recyclable because they were plastic lined. I mean, McDonald's, we know, isn't going to be the front runner in terms of low environmental impact, are they? But that was a great show of Pesta Power making a difference. So if for whatever reason you cannot get an item without single-use plastic, but you want to, like you are purely only buying it because of the convenience of it or because of the price of it or whatever your reason is, or just that you like the item, but you don't like the fact that that item is in single-use plastic, write to that company and tell them. And if you can give them an example of a similar product that is single-use plastic free, give them that example. If you write to that business or write to the supermarket or whatever it might be, to show your opinion and say that you're not happy with it and give them some solutions, or say that you want an answer and this thing really matters to you, because it's people like me and you doing that will make a change. Another example, you might remember a couple of weeks back I was sharing a story. I was talking about meat and meat consumption and about how I have vastly reduced the amount of meat that I consume since going zero waste. And I was telling the story about the KFC, the KFC shop that's on our high street, and how each Saturday morning when I go out a particular time, I see all their food waste and I absolutely hate it. And I uploaded that live video that I did to YouTube, and someone commented and were like, "Oh, did you say anything to KFC?" Like, I was like, "No, I didn't, but what a good idea. Like, I need to tell them that I wasn't happy with them doing that." So I wrote them an email. We're still ongoing because they thought I was asking them for money. And I was like, no, I'm not asking you for money. I'm asking you to donate your food before it comes food waste to a food charity. And then I gave them an example of some food charities that they could donate to. It's still ongoing, but it's having that kind of initiative. If enough people say that they're not happy with the wasteful practices of businesses, they'll make a change, because the customers are what matters, because the customers bring the profits. Okay, my next one is about simply buying better. So there are things that in this world that, well, I mean, we can argue about whether they are wants or needs, but there are certain things that we will need to buy. Now, we might not always need to buy them firsthand, but in some cases, maybe we do need to still buy them firsthand. If you do, then buy the best version that you can afford. and have a look into warranties and see whether they have an extended warranty, or also check out a really great website called Buy Me Once. So Buy Me Once is basically a catalogue of all sorts of different products where people have bought them and they've lasted years, and they can vouch for the fact that, you know, it might be a casserole dish, it might be bed linen, it could be boots, whatever those items are, they have bought them and they have stood the test of time, or that company offers repairs, or you know, the item is easily fixable, whatever it might be. That's a really good place to go to, where you are able to invest a bit more money to buy a better product that is going to last a bit longer. Now, I know it's going to be different depending on the amount of income you have, but just go for whatever you can afford. And it might well be that you want to still buy secondhand, or you can't afford to buy first hand, and that's totally okay. Just do a bit of research and see whether that item you're going to buy is going to last, because the longer it lasts, the less waste is produced. Everyone's a winner. Number 3, well, I guess it's number 7 actually, if we're counting from 1 that was last week to this week. My next one is about accountability. So having accountability, I think, matters so much in the zero waste movement. And I mean about being accountable to other people. And hey Joe, I need to reply to your text message, sorry. So yeah, accountability matters so much, and it matters so much more than, I think, the same level or more than not using single-use plastic. For me, when I started going zero waste, having Anna, who went zero waste at the same time as me, was really helpful in my zero waste journey, because it meant that I was able to ask her questions, and when I had struggles, I was able to, basically get ideas off her and vent to her and then get a different perspective. That really mattered. And it also matters now that I am able to be, other people are able to keep accountable to me. So they're able to say on the blog, on social media, I'm lowering my waste in this, and I'm able to check back in on them and be like, how is it going? And I'm not really checking up on them, but the fact that you're able to say to someone, I want to make this change, just by voicing that you want to make that change, it makes that so much easier, because you almost feel like you don't want to let anyone down, even if they don't care whether you follow through with your promise or whatever it is. That whole accountability, being accountable to others and having someone to be accountable to, made me improve my zero waste journey. And the other way I do this is on Instagram. I like to follow people who maybe have opinions that make me feel a little bit uncomfortable. Now, I follow a lot of people where they do all that lovely, like, you know, I don't know, I guess stroke my ego a bit and make me think like, oh, I'm doing so good for the environment, like I'm doing really great stuff. But I also follow a lot of people who talk about things that I was not aware of until I saw it on their account. So it's things like environmental racism, it's things like zero waste and privilege, and all of these topics that I don't know about. So by listening to them and their opinions on it, it makes me research what they're talking about, and that just keeps my conscious growing, which then means that I am considering other thoughts and actions, like other things that I do, and changing my actions to lower my waste. So a good example of this is the one that I talked about last week, which was flying. I'd never thought about flying being really wasteful until I heard other influencers, people on Instagram, talking about how awful it was, and also saying that they don't fly anymore because of it. And if I wasn't in that circle where other people were saying this is an issue and this is what I'm doing to stop that issue, I wouldn't have made those changes. So it really matters, in my opinion, to surround yourself with those kinds of people as well. My next one is about protesting or boycotting. So I didn't really do any form of protesting before I got into the zero waste movement. I went to my first protest this year. I went to an Extinction Rebellion protest in the centre of Birmingham, and I probably wouldn't have gone and protested if I wasn't in the zero waste movement. Maybe I wouldn't have, I don't know, because sometimes I think, is that the right thing to do? But this time I was like, yes, it is the right thing to do. And I went along and I felt so empowered because I was surrounded by other people who had the same thoughts and opinions as I did, and I was making a stand, and I was saying to the government, I want change. Now, if you are someone who's like, I am such a introvert, the thought of going and protesting is just the worst thing in the world, firstly, it's not as bad as you think it is. Maybe go along with a friend and it'll be okay. But if you really just don't want to, you can be an armchair activist and you can still sort of protest whilst not being in person. So you can show support by sharing articles around the subject that people are protesting for. You can be commenting on blogs, you can be sharing various different content, videos, links, whatever it might be, and you can just be talking to people about protests as they are going on. So it could be as simple as going into work and say, oh, there's a protest going on about this today, did you know? And then that opens up the discussion of what that protest is about. Now, the other point that I've kind of sneakily snuck in here, because I said there was only 10 points, so I'm putting two together. Is boycotting. So wherever possible, if you're able to boycott a brand based on their plastic use, based on how wasteful their processes are, please do. So it can be things like you might decide that you want to boycott certain fast fashion brands because of the pollutants that they are putting into our oceans. It might be that you want to boycott certain supermarkets because you found out about their supply chains. A really good resource for this, for working out which brands are better than others out there on the high street. If you go to the Ethical Consumer website, you can search certain brands, you can search supermarkets, you can search online shops, whatever it might be, and you can have a look at their ethical credentials, and they weigh up lots of different things such as the sustainability of the materials. They also talk about the way that the workers have been treated, all sorts of different stuff. And then you can make decisions on whether you want to shop at those brands based on your own personal values. So it might be that certain things matter to you more than others. It might be that you want to shop with a brand that is all about fair trade, it's all about workers' rights, whatever it might be. But you can go on and you can compare and contrast. And then if you're able to, if you have the time, the money, the resources, whatever it looks like for you, and you're able to boycott a certain brand, by all means do, because the power is in the money. If you don't spend your money with that brand, you spend it with another brand, then you are affecting that nasty brand's profit. And I'd also link that back to my first point about pester power. If you've decided that you're no longer going to shop somewhere because their ethics are just pants, let them know, because otherwise they'll just be like, what's happening? You say, I'm not shopping with you anymore because I've figured this out and I don't like this. And if you don't change, I'm not coming back as a customer. And that's really powerful, because that's what those businesses want. They want your customers. So yeah, use your power. Boycott them. Shop elsewhere. My final one is about inspiring others. So zero waste doesn't have to be perfect for you to be making a massive difference. And it can literally be as simple as saying, I want to start lowering my waste, I'm going to try X. And just saying that to someone at work, or saying that to someone that you live with, or a family member, that will spark a change in them as well. So that I've just realised Charlie's here. Hi, Charlie. Yeah, that will spark a change in them as well. Like, they'll be thinking, why are you doing that? And then you're able to explain your reasoning behind it as well. So having this kind of way of inspiring others, whether it's just through the conversations that you're having, or whether you actually have a platform where you're able to inspire others. It might be a platform that you have in your workplace. Maybe you're part of a certain forum where you're able to say, I want us to start lowering our waste, I want us to do this. Maybe you have some kind of, you create content somehow online, and you're able to share a message somehow through whatever networks that you already have. When you're leading by example, you are making a change, and you do not need to be perfect. It's almost so much more powerful if you're able to say, I want to lower my waste, but I'm actually not perfect. One of our most liked posts ever was actually when Anna went on holiday and she had a takeaway, and she took a picture of her takeaway, and it was like, it was in a plastic bag, it was in a styrofoam box, and she said, I had a takeaway. Living zero waste is really hard. And then other people were able to say, yeah, it is really hard. And just by saying, like, by voicing the fact that I'm trying to do something that's really difficult, but I'm trying my hardest, makes it so much easier for other people to say, okay, I don't actually need to do this perfectly. It doesn't need to be an all or nothing approach. I can lower my waste in this area, like in X, Y, and Z, but I don't actually need to do that until I'm ready to do that, or until I'm able to do that. So this kind of mindset means that you're able to be honest with yourself and with other people about the successes and struggles that you're having, and then it grows this zero waste movement, and it grows it into something that's more accessible for more people. Because if people are looking outside into the zero waste movement and just thinking, there's no way that I could ever live like that, I could ever change that habit, they'll never get started. Whereas if you're able to make small changes and talk to people about those small changes and the things that you're trying to do next, that is so inspiring, and it's really relatable, and then it gets more people to think more deeply about their effect that they're having. So I think that last one is huge, and that kind of way of thinking and of talking about zero waste matters way, way more than just living in silo and not putting plastic in your bin. Like, that whole mindset shift of, I want to develop and change, and I want to share with other people about what I'm doing and why I'm doing it, that is what's going to make a real big change in this planet, on this planet. Sorry, bad grammar. So those are my full 10 points about lowering waste. That doesn't necessarily mean avoiding single-use plastic. I will reiterate, I'm not saying go out and buy all the single-use plastic that you can, but I am saying don't beat yourself up if you end up with single-use plastic, because there is a whole host of other things that you can be doing to lower your waste that matter just as much or more than avoiding single-use plastics. So thanks so much for joining me. I just have one more thing that I have very nearly forgotten to say. We have recently relaunched our Zero Waste online course. It's a 7-day course to get you closer to zero waste living. And we had our first enrollee, if that's the right word, I don't even know, today. So if that is of interest to you, drop me a direct message and I will send the link across to you, and you can get yourself started. So it is a fully immersive program. You're going to get real results within the 7 days. There are audio files, PDFs, and you can also jump on a call with me and I can help you out, help you figure out any issues you might be having around lowering your waste. So thanks a lot for joining me. Thanks to those of you who joined me live, and if you joined on replay, thank you very much as well. And I will speak to you next week. Have a great week. Thanks, everyone.